Have you inherited photographs and you have absolutely no idea what to do with them? You are not alone. This is a common problem. People can inherit boxes of photographs, and oftentimes they're not sorted. Sometimes you don't know who's in them, and the task is completely overwhelming. Well, I am here with my cousin Sue, and I was visiting with her, and she did such a fantastic job of handling her inherited photographs. And I wanted to show you what she's done and talk to her about it because I'll be honest with you, I haven't inherited boxes like this. So I've never really done what she's done. When I've done projects for clients, it's been more dealing with paper, not as many photographs. So I was so impressed to see how she's tackled it and what it's meant to her. So we're going to talk to you today about how she is handling her inherited boxes and boxes of photographs. And also, she's got a great tip about journals. So stay tuned for that. So, Sue, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. It's fun to be with you.
Tell me a little bit more about how it first felt for you when you got all these boxes and you just weren't sure what to do.
I felt like I was kind of drowning, honestly. It was really overwhelming. I mean, they were completely disorganized. They weren't in any enclosures. It was just random. There was no order. And it just felt like I had a huge mountain, really. And I just didn't know what to do with it. It felt so overwhelming. And so my first knee-jerk response was just, well, do some research, watch some videos. And I felt like that was helpful, but it just was difficult to figure out what was my starting point. And I knew that the most important thing to begin with was to sort them. How am I going to sort them? How am I going to organize this massive pile? Because this is spanning decades and generations. I mean, it was generational photos from grandparents through my parents' generation and mine with my siblings. And it finally dawned on me that the sorting process might be simplified by just looking at the actual prints themselves. Because of the way that they would be processed, that there would be some that were black and white, there would be some that were different sizes. And so I thought, oh, okay, maybe I don't even have to look at what the actual content is or what the photograph is. I can just start by looking at the size and what kind of paper it was put on. And that immediately just simplified my life, and it was so wonderful. I just needed space. And so to sort that out, just putting everything out and putting them in piles, and it just naturally things fell into categories and groups.
Well, and I love too that you told me that you got the family involved because sometimes with genealogy like this, it's really hard to get other people involved. And a lot of your kids didn't know some of these people, probably even in the photographs. But anybody can sort by photograph size and by type of paper, by black and white.
Exactly. I mean, it took a little bit of encouragement, but it was a really great experience to connect us and for them to feel like there was actually something that they could do instead of looking at the photo and going, I don't know who this person is, so Mom, this is your job. And that was part of what was so overwhelming, but to feel like, oh, there is a way that they can jump in and be a part of the process.
That's so cool. Okay, so now you have them sorted by black and white, by different sizes, by different types of paper. Now what do you do next?
So then I just put them all into these individual stacks. And from that process, then it felt like that was a smaller elephant, right? It had gone from this massive herd of elephants just down to just a couple. And I felt like I could take it to the next step by then grouping them. So I started with the photos that were, to me, the rarest and the most precious. And that meant that it was probably like more of the black and white photographs, the older photographs. And so I took those photographs and I put them in either events or organized them by person. And there were relatively few photographs, so it was really easy to group them by either person or event. And then I decided that what I wanted to do, and the next step is ask myself, how was I going to keep these photographs? They're meaningful to me, but and they're rare and precious because most of them are like the black and white ones. And so I just started to ask myself, how is someone else going to interact with them besides myself, maybe my siblings or my children. And from there, I looked into how to preserve them. And so I put them in it was a really simple thing. I just got a binder that was, the acid-free box that would fold up, and then the plastic pockets to put those in. And I organized those. So I did a lot of different processes, but for the older photographs, that's what I did. And so that way I could organize them in order a little bit more chronologically. And then in the end, I felt like what I would end up with was something that was very usable and very accessible without touching the individual prints all the time, just taking them out of an envelope or taking them out of a box, that it was just like looking through a photo album, but it would really protect the photos.
Well, and you told me too that that affected your scanning. So, when did you do the scanning in this process? Because I think this might surprise some of you because it really made a difference in how she organized it. It made her scanning not quite so overwhelming.
Yeah, so with the older photographs, I put them in the pockets first in chronological order, and then I could take them out, and because they were more precious, I used mostly like a flatbed scanner with those. And I could take it out and scan it, label it on the back, and put it back in so that I can associate a scan number with a photograph. And maybe on the back of the photograph there was a name or a date or something like that. But it kind of kept everything in like an all-in-one. And then with the snapshots, because that's what I feel was the most overwhelming, then I ended up with just a whole bunch of family snapshots. I mean, doubles, double prints back from the double prints day. Oh my goodness. That meant I had twice as much work, right?
Yeah.
So to go through those, I just picked an event. Just start with an event so that I could really, really have just a bite-sized piece. And that felt so satisfying to feel like I'd gone from this massive mountain down to this just little bite-sized piece, because it felt like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I could connect with what I was doing, and I could involve other people. And so like the first thing I did was I took pictures that involved an event from my brothers. And I had them kind of help me organize it a little bit chronologically. I got rid of all of the stuff that I couldn't identify, they couldn't identify, didn't mean a darn thing to them, double prints. And then I put them in just the archival envelopes in the best order that I could. And now I can take the envelopes out, I can scan it, do the same thing, write the image number on the back, put it back inside the little envelope and back inside of the the preserved archival box. Done.
That's awesome. Okay, so one of the things that really impressed me when I looked in the room is that she had these photographs. She was sorting a new group, and she had like sticky notes that had years and even months. Tell me a little bit more about how you did that.
So there was a group of prints that were a particular size, and there was a small enough group of them that I could recognize that it was from a specific period of time. So I thought, oh, okay, how can I make this more doable? And the way that I thought was there were many that had dates on the back of them. So, and it also got to a point in time where some of my memories could kick in, and I could identify, oh, this is this house, or this is this person, or this is this Christmas. So I just made like a little grid, and I did Post-it notes of years down the side. So like this is 1977, this is 1976, this is and just tried to order it. So these are just Post-it notes of the years down the side and the January to December across the top.
What are some of the other things that have kind of helped you?
Try to not freak out because that's usually the first response, and that was my response. So, okay, if you have a freak out, great, check that off your box and just go, okay, well, what's my next step? What am I going to do next? And you'll have to kind of do a little bit of introspection, because some of this is prescribed and some of it no one can tell you, because the year, okay, that's something numerical and chronological that you can follow, but someone can't tell you the value of it for you. You have to kind of decide that. And so it's okay to just sit with that for a little bit. And that was something that really bothered me, because I had this huge urgency to just get box, scan box. And I realized that that just would be another mess, that what I'd end up with is a whole bunch of digital photographs that were just as disorganized as the box I inherited.
Yes.
So I really just needed to just sit with it and have an experience and form a connection with it. And that it was that connection that would sort of drive it, because not everything is always organized chronologically. So I took it and made little projects like, oh, okay, here's this trip to Spain that I did with my mother in high school. That's a little group. I can see the beginning and the end of that. I can organize it. And sometimes it would really irritate me that I couldn't do it chronologically. But in the end, it really didn't matter that much. It's more that here's this group, because what you're going for is a connection and a memory. It doesn't necessarily always matter that you have an exact date or a time stamp on there. It's okay.
I love that. So one of the things too that I want to add in there, my grandmother did a lot of organizing of photographs and put together some beautiful photo albums. I've talked about them off and on my videos. But there's one little grouping. My great grandfather was a porter on ships, and he took my great aunt, who I'm named after, Aimee, through the Panama Canal. And my grandma kept all of those together in a grouping. And I love that, because if they hadn't been kept together, I don't know that I would realize that they were all part of that same trip. So I actually think that's really effective. Well, there was one other thing that she encountered as she was going through these boxes, these journals. And this is really cool. So I want to let her tell you about how she dealt with the journals. It's kind of a 2-for-1. And so this is going to not only save you time, but be more meaningful to you.
Well, the journals were such a huge treasure because my mother kept journals, but my father did not. And so to have these journals, and they were just sporadic. The journals aren't even full. So they're just, handwritten journals. And I started doing some research about, well, how can I scan these? Because I want to simplify and speed up this process, right? And that was kind of what I was going for, was speed. And then I realized that there would be another way to do this, and that I could take advantage of Google, and I could just open a Google document. I could just type in, what the journal was. This is, whose journal, who it belonged to, the date that it started. And what I ended up doing was just turning on the microphone in Google Docs and reading the journals out loud. And that did all of the typing, because what I really wanted was to be able to share these journals with my siblings, and for them to be able to read through and maybe even search things, because that's the part of the problem with handwritten journals, is you can't really search it. Yeah. And so like if you want to type in something and run a search on something, you just can't in something handwritten. So I took the journal, and one at a time I sat down and with my computer open, just turned on the microphone and began reading the journal to the computer right through Google. And it was such an amazing experience, because I became voice for my mother. And I could hear in my mind and in my head and in my heart, I could hear her voice and imagine her writing these things down. And it was like I got to live it and see it in my mind, all of these experiences that she'd had. And it was precious. It was the most connective experience she passed 2 years ago. And to be able to have that experience, to feel her close, and to hear through her words, through my voice, all of these things that she had written down, and be able to put it in a format that was then shareable with my siblings. It could correct things. It was very simple to go back after the fact and just, oh, this was a wrong word, or, even to correct some of the grammar or spelling mistakes, whatever. It was so simple. But that was a great experience, but the best experience was just being able to have that connection with my mother.
I just love that. And the thing too is, think about it. When you read a document, like if you picked up a journal that somebody wrote in your family and you just kind of slowly, scanned it or read it, it's not going to be the same. When you read something out loud, it just takes it to another level. So that's just like one of my very favorite helps. Now, these things may not work for you, and that's okay. One of the things that I've tried to make very clear in all my videos is you got to do what works for you. But I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to see what was working for one person, and maybe you can incorporate some of it into your own situation, whether you have photographs that you've inherited or whether you have journals. and then have them for your family and keep them. And I have some other videos where I've talked about this, but I want to encourage you again, digitize this stuff. It protects them. And then you can send it out there, and you can make sure other people have the photographs as well, because then, heaven forbid, if something happened, if your house burns down or something awful happens, those pictures will be preserved. So hopefully this will help you actually do it, and not like look at the box and go, oh, I've got to do that someday. Maybe this will give you the impetus to go ahead and give it a try. I really hope that that's the case. And if you have other suggestions of things that have worked for you as you have done this process, please put it in the comments so that you can share it with other people. Well, if you want a little bit more information about scanning documents, or about how to kind of deal with all of that part of the process, you can check out this other video that will give you some more information on maybe some of those other steps, all right? Have a great day. Thanks.